Welcome to Carco and Carne. I'm James Van Osdol, Carco and Carne, at home for this one, episode number 728, or as we say in Chicago, 728. I don't know if they'd say that in Peru. Guys, would you say that in Peru, Illinois? Would you say 100 or 100?
I would say 100.
Yeah, you get 100 miles outside of the city and pronunciations become less Chicago. That's how that works. So my guests tonight, I've already started talking to them. Jeff Yosowitz and Bob Windy. They are the people behind Star Union Spirits, based out of Peru, Illinois. Award-winning spirits, delicious spirits you'd want to add to your bar cart or your shelf, and you should. But you can also see them, talk to them, and taste their wares. They'll be at Rum Fest in Logan Square Auditorium, 2538 North Kedzie. That's happening on Saturday. It is exactly what it's truth in advertising. It is a festival of rum, as God intended. Guys, nice to see you both.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate being here.
So let's start with Midwest Rum Fest. You're going to be there with a whole bunch of other distillers. How do you stand out in a room full of rum makers?
Well, we like to have our individual rum, and we make 5 different kinds of rum. And we stand out because we make fine Midwestern spirits, and they're award-winning. And we try to make ours a little bit different than everyone else.
Yeah, I would add to that. We've got a big barrel head from the American Craft Spirits Association that named our Navy Strength rum as the best in class in 2021. So out of all the rums that were entered, we took the top prize at the American Craft Spirits Association Awards among our peers. And we also won, I think that 2 of our rums won double gold in San Francisco in the World Spirits Competition.
How great is that? And you started out as winemakers.
Correct.
And now look at that. And now, I mean, it's progressed to vodka and agave and the award-winning rums.
Right.
What led you from wine to spirits?
Well, we were doing wine as a hobby in Bob's garage for many years. And while we had, real jobs in the loop. Weekends, we would make wine together. And it would be so much fun and such a, such a relaxing experience that we kind of said, how can we monetize this hobby? And how can we change this?
I ask myself that every day.
There were a lot of people that used to come, and it was almost like a co-op of winemaking in the garage. And people would buy their own grapes, and then they'd bring them to the garage, and we'd use the early 20th century press and press out the wine. And everybody would come back 2 weeks later and ferment the wine, and then 2 weeks later we press out the wine. And we did that for many, many years. It was always, what do we do with this? And how do we progress out of this?
And we were totally planning on doing it in Chicago. And one thing led to another. We couldn't find a building that we felt that we could either afford or that was right for us. So I said, let's check out my hometown of Peru, Illinois. I grew up in Peru. I moved to Chicago back in 1985. And I thought that there might be opportunities back in my hometown. And we looked around and we found the historic West Clocks building. And Jeff and I both really love history. And my grandfather worked in the West Clocks building, and it was boarded up, and they were trying to redevelop that space and the building. And we ended up being the anchor tenant in there. And one thing led to another, and we started out with brandies. We added vodka, and then we're
in the middle of corn country, so we had to do that.
Sure, absolutely.
And we hired Casey Beal, who is an award-winning distiller. He worked at Tailwinds, and they were closing down right as we were opening. So we decided that we wanted to bring him on and learn from him as well. And he had a love for rums and agaves. And we also wanted to start a grain program. So that naturally led to our whiskeys, and one thing led to another. And we have a really full dynamic portfolio of spirits. And they have done very well in competition. And more importantly, our customers really love them and they want to keep drinking them. If they drink it once, they usually come back and drink it again.
So
So
with all the different varieties of spirits, we've had to expand our tasting room menu quite a few times. I mean, we started
Sure.
with the clear brandies, eau de vie, water of life is the term used. And then we, as we had things come in and aging and different types of spirits, we keep our mixologists busy. So we had to invent really unique and delicious drinks, craft cocktails.
Well, tying together things that both of you said, you're talking about making those wines in the garage and it became this kind of co-op community thing, and just what you're doing in the present day and how people are loving it and they keep buying more. Whenever I talk to a craft distillery such as yours, the community keeps coming up. That sense of being part of something and like knowing where it's made, how it's made, and the people making it is as important, or at least somewhat important as compared to what they're putting in their bodies, what they're drinking.
Yeah, when we were investigating building something of this nature, we actually did our due diligence and visited over 100 distilleries, craft distilleries across the U.S. And talked to owners and distillers and kind of got the lay of the land and kind of took our pieces of what we learned throughout that journey back with us and designed our vision here at the Westflex factory.
People want to be part of something, and to that end, I saw you've got a bottling party. Is that tomorrow night as we're recording this?
Yeah, and as far as community, we invite the community in to help us bottle, but of course, and we also have done some collaboration with others in the industry.
Mhm.
Our brandy barrels have gone up to Chicago and aged beer, delicious beer, and we've got some other exciting opportunities coming out very soon. Our rum and rye, which is a new class.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. We're collaborating with Mississippi River on that one.
700 bottles total.
I think there may be a little bit more than that.
More.
Yeah. But it's still a very small run.
In the first batch.
Got it.
Correct.
So I've never had that combination before. I like rum. I like rye. Tell me, as a drinker, what can I expect when I drink that?
Well, it's you'll get the sweetness of the rum and the spiciness of the rye. They both were aged 3 years in their respective barrels, and we decided that we wanted to blend it. And once we blended it, we were considering putting it back in the barrel, but after we tasted the blend, we felt that it was great just the way it was.
Right. Oh, it's delicious. It's very smooth,
Mhm.
and at the proof it's at, it's delicious.
And
Yeah.
what proof is that?
82.
All right.
We go a little bit higher than 80 usually.
Mhm.
82 is our number.
We want our spirits to have a unique proof on them, and we kind of want to be outside the norm. We don't want to travel we want to travel with some people, but we also want to keep our uniqueness, and the 82 proof is our signature proof on almost all of our brandies, our vodka, and a lot of our rums. So
the outliers are a couple of rums that we do and the one whiskey that we do. The reserve rum is at 107, as is the 75-25 whiskey. And then the Navy is at 114 by law.
Got it. Now, talking about what makes your spirits appealing, I got to say, as branding goes, you've got the coolest look to your products. Like the bottles of booze from Star Union just leap off the shelf. Like, and I think that's important. I mean, you can have the best tasting spirits in the world, but there has to be some kind of shelf appeal too.
Yeah, no, we were very happy with the label and the artist who designed that. And there's a lot of layers to the onion, so to speak, in our label. There's a lot of meaning in them, and if you have another hour or two, I'd love to describe them all.
Well, our labels also tell a little bit of the story about the Illinois Valley. We had a couple of central themes of progress and prosperity. Prosperity is the Inca word, or Peru is the Inca word for wealth or prosperity. So we wanted to have that theme. And we also had this early Americana vision of the trains, the riverboats, the early flying machines of the local area. They all have a story, and each one of the bottles kind of tells a story about the evolution of Peru and the local Illinois Valley.
Yeah,
the river
all
valley.
those vehicles took manufacturing out of central Illinois to the rest of the world, actually. And that's part of the story as well. And if you actually read the label on the brandy bottle, it says, "Brandy shall flow, courageous and free, till it's poured in every cup, sung every toast, lay pleasure to every palate, for the glory of cherry shall be known by all," or apple, or Cabernet grape.
That's your history, guys.
We think that the Peru area offered and delivered a lot of very important technology, progress, goods to all parts of the state and all over the Midwest. And we felt that that story needed to be told. And it's a very historic area, and we wanted to channel into a lot of the roots of that. We're in this beautiful old West Clocks factory here. It was one of the earliest, they were one of the earliest factories to use the assembly line. There's a wonderful museum that is in the building that every time I go in there, I end up going in there for a couple hours. And it's just quite a wonderful place. The people who run it have so much passion about the history of the building that you just can't help feel just good about yourself and good about being here in this beautiful building.
Yep. I mean, that's to the clock factory, and all the clocks that they ever made are in that museum, along with the history of what happened to the factory and, what happened during, the Second World War, where the government took over the factory and, built timers and mechanisms for some of the bombs and things, and
the fuses for the
bombs and things like that. But we also have a mini museum to the history of our name and why we chose Star Union.
See, you're already talking me into making a road trip, like whether that was intentional or not. You're already having me make plans. Like I'm slowly trying to pull up Airbnb on the other computer monitor. Let's see what's going on in Peru in the next week or two.
Well, we're about 7 miles from Starved Rock State Park, so a beautiful. And one of the reasons I felt that it would make a great distillery here is, we've got 7 miles and we're at Starved Rock with all the trails and canyons and beauty of that. And that gets many people visiting per year. But there was also a brewery in Ottawa, a winery in Utica, and we're the trifecta here in Peru. So.
And we also felt that the local area over the last 10 years has really progressed. I think the local governments have really invested a lot into businesses like ours. They are encouraging growth in the area. Back in the 80s, when all these buildings closed down and the manufacturing was moving away, there was a different goal in mind. And right now they're trying to welcome businesses back. There is this economic engine that we are part of that is trying to not only restore the West, be part of the restoration of the West Clocks building, but also trying to invigorate tourism and also the local economy by having tourists come through here. they eat here, then they'll also go to restaurants in the area. They'll stay at the hotels, or they'll stay out at
Yeah.
Star Rock or Grand Bear Lodge, and also the Airbnbs. There's lots of summer festivals that also we're part of, and we like being part of the community. I think there is a really good vibe between all of the businesses in the area, and that we're all trying to work together. And we're next week we're having a dinner across the street at a restaurant called Time. We're introducing the rum and rye at that dinner. So these events that we have that we're working together, there's a lot of cohesion between the buildings, the building owners, and we're trying to do something fun, and the community rallies around behind it. I don't even think they put that out to the public. It's sold out just by word of mouth. So
That's great.
there is a very good community that is supporting us and supporting the local businesses. And it's really nice to see that.
What was really, I mean, what's really cool and telling, I mean, we have old pictures of like when we first arrived at the building, kind of making that decision. And the building was actually boarded up. I mean, the outside, there were all this beautiful windows, all these beautiful windows were all boarded up. That was exciting to us. I mean, you know, look at what we can do here. We had a blank slate in here as far as walls and drainage and electricity were concerned. So we had to put everything that you see in here basically, including the walls and stuff.
I'm pretty sure you're making a strong case for the American dream right now. Let's give up the day jobs. We're gonna leave the big city, open up a distillery in a boarded up building, and we're gonna change the course of Peru, Illinois.
We're trying. We're trying very hard. I used to come to this building when my grandfather worked here back in the mid 60s. They would have large Christmas parties that were very famous. They would not only invite all the children of the workers, but also the grandchildren. And I think West Clocks at the time they were very innovative. They had a clock school here where you could learn how to make clocks. And it was very progressive at the time. There was our bar was made out of bowling alleys that were in the building. There was groups and clubs that had soccer teams and baseball teams. And, well before Google had all these social clubs that they had within their organization, West Clocks was doing this back in the early 1920s.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it was very, very progressive.
And I mean, our acronym is SUS, sustainability is what we say. And, part of our mission was to kind of recycle things within the facility here. And so, as Bob alluded to, our bar top is one of the bowling lanes that was in the West Clocks building. They had a little amenity for the 6,000 employees was a 4-lane bowling alley that they had here. And we found it and we were able to clean it up. There was a big fire in 2012. There was an arson in the back and torched half the building. So instead of 560,000 square feet, the building is now 260,000 square feet. That's still a mammoth size.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about 7-8 blocks long. If you come down here, you can't miss it. Right off routes.
So as the weather is turning nicer, I say that optimistically because it's not really nice in Chicago right now, but it will be summer soon enough. And people are probably thinking about heading out to Starved Rock, maybe late spring, whatever. You do tours of the distillery, right? Yes,
we do. It talks about the chemistry, the history of our name, and the sustainability aspect of the operation. When we get the grapes in twice a year from California and South America, we get about 8 tons of grapes here, and we have a fiesta from first crushing, destemming them, and then fermenting them, and then pressing them. And we still use an early 20th century press that we used in his garage.
That's amazing.
It's an old Cherugi Brothers press made in Chicago, Illinois, I believe in 1868. There's a stamp on it, I think. but it still works wonderful. It creates a river of wine. We put that in the still that makes the brandy. And then we don't, we don't discard the brick of grapes. We chop that up, rehydrate that, put that in the still that makes grappa. And then further, we bag that up. The Peru greenhouse comes, picks up the grape skins and takes them back to the greenhouse and uses them as flower mulch. So full circle.
I love that. That's really, I think that's super cool. And you're right. Sustainability, like those conversations can't be had enough right now.
We have to be innovative, and we also have to think about our environment. And we're trying to do as much as we can to be sustainable. It is the, if we look to the future, we have to try to include that as much as we can.
For sure. I'm talking to Jeff and Bob from Star Union Spirits. We talked about the rum and rye collaboration that's happening next week. How often, I mean, everything you just said to me, from the tours to what you're doing, the bottling, how often do you have a chance to innovate and concept new spirits? It would seem like there aren't enough hours in the day.
Well, we have a great staff, and like I talked about Casey Beal. We also have our mixologist, Dan Williams, and those two are part of our research and development team. And we're also developing other spirits as we are moving forward.
Right. I'll say, I mean, each one of us has kind of come up with, a little this or that. I mean, we've got a whole sort of R&D section over here where we test out little things and try to figure out if, we get 3 or 4 of us liking it. And that's how we kind of go from there.
You've created the best jobs in the world for yourself. Really?
It comes because we're all kind of naturally creative. My background was in art, and so my whole life has been creative. Not only I work as a graphic artist, but I cooked. We made wine. There was just a lot of things that every day is a creative aspect in our life. So we all have these things that we want to pursue, and as long as we have that opportunity, there's always room for innovation. And we kind of bounce these questions off each other. Why not? Can we do this? What if we did this? And it makes working fun. It's nice to be creative, and always kind of looking past what we're doing right now to some things to do in the future.
I love it. Star Union Spirits. We will see you. You'll taste rum. So you'll have, I'm assuming you're going to have the Navy Strength at the Rum Fest.
We will have our silver rum, first boil molasses. We'll have our gold rum that was 2 years in a whiskey barrel. Same expression, but 2 years in a whiskey barrel.
Sold.
And we will have our reserve rum that was 5 years in a whiskey barrel, 1 year in a sherry cask. And then we will also have our Navy, which I mentioned before, with caramelized molasses in it. And then we also have our coffee liqueur, which is at 60 proof, made from rum and cold brew coffee that we get out of Plainfield.
That seems like the sort of spirit that Chicagoans would love. Like that's a slam dunk for this area.
We purposefully do not overly sweeten it. A lot of coffee liqueurs are very, very sweet, and we prefer to not overly sweeten it, so it tastes a little bit more like your coffee.
Guatemalan cold brew has a natural sweetener. Has a naturally sweet expression anyway.
Right.
So there's no need to add any sugar to it. You can always add your simple syrup if you need, or some kind of a cocoa if you really wanted to. Once it's in there, you can't take it out.
Right.
And we love the taste of that Guatemalan cold brew mixed with our, naturally sweet rum. So it's a very nice combination. And we'll also have that rum and rye there.
Right.
The
new one.
What better place to introduce it would be this weekend, 5 days before we we release it to the world. So we're very, very excited about our future, and a lot of things are great ahead.
I'm going straight for your table when I walk in the door.
I'm looking for you.
I'll be there. I'll be there. All right. Again, Star Union Spirits, the website, gentlemen, is
starunionspirits.com.
easy enough. All right. Saturday, Rum Fest in Logan Square, the Midwest Rum Fest. It is the 6th annual. We'll see you there, and we'll keep drinking your products, and we'll come see you in Peru, Illinois. We'll hop on the interstate this summer and say hello from Chicago.
Thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.